Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Woodle. I am a secondary autism teacher, and today we're going to talk about the BIP process. So that's functional behavior assessment and behavioral intervention plan. So just the process on how we create those and how the team works together to make those. So first we're going to go over a couple of terms. The first one is positive, as it refers to reinforcement. So a student who is who's on a behavior intervention plan will receive positive reinforcement, which is they will earn something. So positive reinforcement will encourage the behavior to happen again. So we only want to positively reinforce the replacement behavior that we're teaching. So for example, if a student is asking for a break, we're going to immediately honor the break so that we can reinforce that they will ask for a break again, and maybe give them like a token, or positive reinforcement can come in a lot of different ways, not just verbal. So they can earn something tangible, or they can earn the actual time away, or they can, also that attention. So you can do like a really big, depending on the student and what works for them, you can make like a big reaction, like, oh, good job, I really love the way you did that, and really get them to feel the positivity of that. Negative reinforcement is also something that will encourage the behavior to continue to happen, but it will be through something negative happening. So for example, the removal of something negative to strengthen the behavior, or exhibiting a behavior to avoid a circumstance. So the best example always happens as a natural response to the behavior, so that the student will do what he needs to do to avoid the negative reinforcement. So for example, like nagging parents with a bad teacher report or something like that. The next term is punishment. So that would be loss of something, like a consequence for engaging in a behavior. So loss of free time, loss of a field trip, suspension, some sort of punishment that would make it so the student will not engage in that behavior again. Typically, I don't use punishment. I use positive and negative reinforcement. And then I also use the last one, which is extinction. And that's withholding something reinforcing when the target behavior is exhibited. So you do not allow the behavior to escape the demands. You withhold attention if it's an attention-seeking behavior. The type of extinction response is always directly related to the function of the behavior. So whatever whatever behavior the student is exhibiting to get something, try to prevent that from having the original behavior earn whatever need the student is seeking with that behavior, so that when you teach a replacement behavior, you can have them earn it and it'll strengthen the replacement behavior instead of the target behavior. So the target behavior is the one that you're really trying to extinguish. So the first process. So, you have a student who's been identified as having a behavior that interrupts his or others' learning. So you always talk about the functions. There are 4 functions, which are escape, attention, access to tangibles, and sensory. To do this, we use a functional behavior chart where you can identify data trends, such as what behavior is happening, how often, what prompts it, and then a hypothesis can be made to determine what the function of the behavior is. Depending on the behavior, it can be taken by showing frequency, latency, duration, and sometimes a scaled chart for intensity might be used. The best way to manage the data part is to use a chart for easy recording, along with anecdotal notes, because sometimes that helps jog your memory on what exactly was going on, as opposed to just the concrete data on a chart. But you never want just anecdotal notes. You always want something that is consistently tracked. So always showing you where it's happening, when it's happening, what happened right before the behavior happened, and then what happened as a result of the behavior. So when little Johnny made a remark in class, did the whole class respond with laughter? Because that might be positively reinforcing little Johnny's behavior of disrupting class. He might be attention seeking. So then later on, we'll decide what we would do with something like that. So step 2 is to define the behavior. So based on the data, what is the target behavior the team will address? The example I have here is student exhibits property destruction and elopement. So that would be the behavior that you're going to hope to change. The next step would be to identify the function of the behavior. So the student exhibits property destruction and elopement to escape demands. So based on all of your charting that you've done as step 1, you've decided that the function for the property destruction and elopement is when demand is placed on him and he's going to try to escape it. So step 4 is determine a replacement behavior. So when the demand is placed, what can the student do if they feel like they need to escape it? What can they do instead that's going to, that will be positive? So what can we teach the student to do instead of property destruction and elopement? It would be great if you would place a demand and the student would just comply, but as we know as humans, there are all sorts of feelings that we have going on. So whatever feeling is going on in that student's body makes it impossible for him to just comply with the task. So what can we give him instead of? What kind of language can we give him? What are his options within that moment to return to the demand? You never want to let him escape the demand entirely, but what can be done in that short, brief moment instead of an immediate response of property destruction and elopement? So step 5 would be to design a function-based intervention and share it with the team. So when the student exhibits property destruction and elopement to escape demands, the student will utilize a pre-taught coping strategy, such as requesting for help, asking for a change of tasks, or requesting a break in lieu of target behaviors to escape demands. So those are 3 things. Those would have to be taught to the student, and then that would have to be taught to the team so that everyone is responding the same way, so that we know when the student is given a prompt and the student shows the precursor warning signs that he's either going to elope or cause property destruction, that he will have these opportunities to ask for a change of task. Can he do maybe math before English or something like that? Can he request a break? Can he take 5 minutes and then return? And if the break doesn't work, try another 5 minutes and return, but again, never allow the behavior to escape the task, or something like that. So the hypothetical team will remind the student in this situation what he's working for, remind the student of expectations, provide access to a reinforcer contingent on calm behavior. And then if the behavior continues, prompt the student to ask for help, a change of demands, or a break. And then positively reinforce as a student shows calm behaviors. So we are simultaneously recognizing that the student is not eloping and not causing property damage while there may be a delay to complying, either going through with the prompt or using one of the coping strategies. There may be that delay, but regardless, we're really going to honor that. And for this student in particular, he responds well to positive verbal praise. So we're going to say, hey, I can tell that you're feeling frustrated, but I really love the way that your body is calm. Thank you. What can we do instead? Can we follow through, or should we maybe take a 5-minute break, or maybe try something else right now? And offering this student in particular choices is something that will be very helpful. I have worked with students who this would not be the appropriate response based on the behavior, and that has everything to do with what the function of the behavior is. So that's why everything should go in a step-by-step process. The last step, or step 4, is to collect data with the intervention. So now that the team has been trained, now that the student has been taught what the options are, now that you've just determined what the function of the behavior is with data, you have the baseline, now you're going to take another set of data and you're going to compare it. So provide a chart to staff to track the behaviors that mirrors the chart used to collect the baseline behavioral data. So what we want to see is some sort of trend. Now that we gave a replacement behavior and we've taught it and we're reinforcing it, are we able to see that these escape and elopement behaviors go down and the use of the strategies go up? That's what we're hoping for. And then the last step is to evaluate the intervention, and the evaluation process may take you right back through the process depending on how successful your intervention is. But again, having that data and having the ability to compare it to the baseline data will tell you if your intervention is working, as long as the intervention is used with fidelity. So all of the staff needs to be responding to the intervention, to the behavior in the exact same way, with being mindful of our nonverbal communication, being mindful of our tone of voice, being mindful of the amount of wait time that we're given. The more specific we can be when we are responding to a behavior, even though we might have a change of staff, we might have a substitute, we might have a bunch of different variables working within our plan, we want to make sure that as much as possible we can remain consistent and then compare that data. Not every day has to be successful, but based on your goal, you just want to come back to that reevaluation stage and discuss it with the team. What are we doing? What can we be doing better? And is it possible that our intervention can be changed, or has it been successful and we can move on to a new behavior? So I hope that's helpful. That's some information on the FBA and BIP process, and thank you for watching.